aloha and welcome to Own the Outcome podcast. My name is Tyler Devereaux. And today, man, we have the one and only Rob Abasolo. Brother, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have you on the show.
Howdy. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
How long did it take you to get the howdy down once you moved from, California to Tennessee? Tennessee, right?
Yeah, okay, so I've moved around. So I'm from Texas. I moved to Kansas City, then I moved to LA, then I moved to Tennessee, and now I'm back in Texas. So I've
Okay.
lived in enough places to really solidify the howdy, I think.
Especially if you were born in Texas, bro. The howdy
Yeah.
comes for sure.
Yeah, man.
What part of
I'm
Texas do you
from
live in now?
Houston and yeah, I came back here 3 years ago and yeah, lots of howdies and it's far hotter than LA and probably Hawaii too, I'd guess.
Yeah, yep. It's about perfect weather out here always, which is beautiful.
Nice.
I appreciate that.
Jealous.
Hey, if y'all do not know Rob, and you're one of, a few who don't, he has a great social media following, great YouTube channel. He is, some people dub the Airbnb king. Okay.
Honored. I'll take it. I don't know if I agree, but that's fine. Keep going. What else you got? What
Tell
other
me more.
accolades can you assign?
No, man, your content is so good, and I love how you I love how you approach your content. First off, I
Thank you.
love it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your businesses though, because you have how many businesses do you have right now?
Probably about six or seven, I would say. Of course, 20% of them make 80% of the income. I'd say I've got Airbnb. I've got Host Camp, which is my education company. I've got Funkit. I've got
Yeah, I
SER
love the
Cossack.
name of your design company, by the way.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Cocasa, my pool dudes. I just bought a pool servicing company, and then another one that I'm probably my brand. So yeah, seven. There you go. Seven.
I,
Oh, and
I
Airbnb.
love
Oh
it.
my gosh, I'm so dumb. Did I say Airbnb?
I
Airbnb is
don't
a
think
big
I actually
one.
don't think
Yeah.
you did. Yeah, that's
Real
definitely a
estate.
business.
All right, there you go. There's the eighth.
So how much real estate do you own? Because you've built up a pretty decent portfolio, dude, of Airbnbs. And I actually don't know if you know you have some tiny home stuff that you work on. What does
Mhm.
your real estate portfolio look like as well?
Yeah, so I've got about 40 units. Yeah, that doesn't really mean all that much. I've got 25 properties that I own or that I like kind of that are single properties, and I've got a 20-unit motel that we're currently renovating right now. And those are all over the country. I have them in LA, Joshua Tree, Scottsdale, Tennessee, a couple in the Smoky Mountains, Sevierville, Gatlinburg, Wisconsin, New York, Houston, and Austin. And I think that covers sort of the portfolio across the country. And of those, yeah, I've got everything from tiny homes to mansions to just cabins. And it was really fun for a long time, I think, buying these up. I think for me, when I got started in the world of Airbnb, my big goal was, can I have one property per month? So can I get 12 properties where I can go and visit a property every single month whenever I quote unquote make it? And I surpassed that many many years ago, and I've gone to none of them, but that's okay. The dream still is like deep in the heart.
Yeah, that is how it works. Do you start to get the reality of
Yeah.
what it actually means?
Yes.
So how
I
did you
have.
get
Oh,
into it?
that's
Did
right.
you?
I have children. I can't do that. What am I thinking?
Yeah, it's a lot harder to leave when you have those kiddos. How many do you have now?
I've got two. I've got a 3.5-year-old and a 5-year-old daughter. Son 3.5, daughter is 5. She's great. She's expensive. She loves sushi. And it's I have for the sake of being like net positive from a cash flow perspective, I have to have an Airbnb business because my daughter is putting me out of business.
Bro, I, I love that your kids love sushi. Do both of them or just your daughter?
Just my daughter, dude. She will
Okay.
pound like $15 worth of sashimi in like a minute. And I'm like, you don't even understand what you've done. I will never financially recover from this.
That's little girls, brother. Like that's you're ruining whoever she ends up marrying.
Yeah.
That's for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
That's good. Or setting a high bar, dude. Not ruining, setting a high bar, which is beautiful. So
I know
I love
we
it.
got to talk about real estate, but I will say I have legitimately undertaken the burden of learning how to make sashimi grade fish and like how to make sushi and all that stuff. So I've been going to like fishmongers and I've been going into the entire theory. Honestly, this is important because real estate is such a fun side hustle when you get started. And then when you quote unquote make it and it becomes your full-time job, it is no longer fun. It is your job. And so I have had to force myself to like learn hobbies because, back in the day, real estate was the hobby, and now it's like, well, it's not a hobby anymore. It's work. I love the job. I love my work,
Mm.
but it is not the hobby it was once when I first started and I was making, $1,000 a month, and I was like, oh my gosh, Airbnb's the greatest. Now it's like, oh yeah, I gotta tell my guests what the Wi-Fi code is, even though, it's on the front door on a little placard.
Oh my gosh, that is so true though, man. It is so true how it turns into, whatever the job is, the job is the job. And then I would tell you that I fall in the same boat where my wife is always like, you know, encouraging me to go do extracurricular activities. I'm like, when? Like, what? You guys are my family is that. I want to just,
Yeah.
what do you guys want to do? Let's go to the beach. I want to do that, you know?
That sounds pretty fun. You know what? I go to the movies by myself, and I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. 9 p.m. rolls around, kids are down. I go, hey, babe, I'm gonna go watch. I'm gonna go watch Mickey 17 tonight. And she's like, all right, sounds good. And I go and I
Yeah, I
watch a
just
movie
did
by
this for the
myself.
first time. I swear on my life. And I know this isn't going to be the topic, but I legit just went to the movies by myself for the first time. I went and saw Captain America, and I
Okay.
go into this place to watch it, and it's it has the nice recliners, and they serve you food. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go get some dinner there. But then I realized that they have you in like you have to buy 2 or 3 tickets at a time because they kind of have you like in I don't even know what you would call it, but
Oh, the
like
pods. Yes,
yeah,
dude.
yeah, pod.
So
There we go.
awkward. Yeah.
So I had to buy 2 tickets, and so now I'm very committed. And then I fell asleep probably 5 seconds after I finished my
And you
meal.
had to buy the ghost seat dinner, obviously, because you
Yep.
couldn't eat
Oh yeah, well,
alone.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You have to, and dessert.
Yeah, so
So
real
yes.
estate is cool. We like real estate. We buy real estate. Everyone listening is like, this what is this podcast about?
Where are we
Um,
going with
yeah.
this? Yeah. But dude, I do want to dive in, brother, because your journey and some of the things that we talked about even off camera, I'm excited to chat about. But the first question that I have is your belief system. Because I watch your videos and you tell me, I mean, I look at how you are on camera and you're the same here. You're just, and I know that
Thank
there's a
you.
camera here, but like you're the same, right? And I love that because it's not always like that. But when you
I
look at
do.
a belief system, like is there this belief system or a belief that you have that has been the primary belief system that you'd say like this is why I've been able to do what I've been able to do?
I think so. Yeah, I would say my belief system probably just like never edit yourself. And obviously, as a YouTuber, I mean, I'm fully edited to be the best version of myself. However, I mess up a lot of things, and I mess up my words, and I'm like, leave that in. And I always do this on podcasts because I always will troll a podcast host who's like, hold on, editor, and I'm like, no, no, we're keeping this
Yeah,
in,
leave it.
because I just believe in being as authentic as possible. And I would say on YouTube, scale of 1 to 10, like if you have that volume button, I'm an 11, and in real life, I'm a 10. But sometimes I'm a 12, And I would say overall, I feel like the only difference between real life and like YouTube is I just have a camera in front of me, but I do genuinely try to I don't portray a version of myself that I want to be. Like I just am who I am, and then I also want to be who I am. Like I don't want anyone to ever meet me and be a little bummed out. That's like, hey, wait a minute, that's a little weird. And I'm always like,
Yes.
no, no, it's me. So, and I think I get that comment a lot out in the wild. They're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm on YouTube, and I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. I work hard for that.
That is though. That's a huge thing because it's so easy when a camera comes on to change it. And I love it's not what I thought you would say, but I absolutely love it because that is why I believe that's probably why so many people resonate with you, dude, is because you are you.
Yeah.
Like you are your greatest strength, you are your greatest resource, and that just comes out with just that authenticity and the genuineness, which I love that.
Yeah,
So,
it's a huge
okay,
compliment when people say, I feel like I already know you. I feel like we're friends. And then I'm always like, okay, all right, I'm doing something right if people feel that way and there's an actual connection there because, I watch a lot of YouTube and I have met a lot of YouTubers. Most of the time, I think everyone's pretty cool, but, every so often I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I see. Everyone's a little different. And I just want to be me, man. I don't want anyone. I don't want like one time I had a conference and like this guy thought I blew him off and he told my sister, he didn't know she was my sister. He goes, "Man, Rob totally blew me off." And she came and found me and then she was like, "Hey, what did you say to that guy?" And I was like, no, I got pulled away from someone else that wanted to talk." And then she was like, he's really upset. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "I have to fix this." I was like, "Dude, I am so sorry. I never want you to feel that way." So I guess it's probably a toxic trait to always like have to be a people pleaser, but I guess that's who I am. What am I gonna do? I can't change that now.
Yeah,
I'm far in too deep in this whole life thing.
too deep, bro. You're
Yeah.
too deep. Even the opening the doors, you're still opening doors for people, even though they jump in front of you in line when you open the door
Oh,
for them.
dude, yeah, I don't think I can do it. It's too awkward. Yeah. A little
Bro, that
context.
video made me
Uh,
laugh out loud, dude. It killed me.
I
Okay,
think
so
I triggered some people. For anyone listening, I get frustrated when I open the door for someone at a public place and then they proceed to walk through the door and then go into line in front of me, thus causing me to wait an extra 5 to 15 minutes for just being nice. And then everyone online was like, "Well, don't do a good deed if you expect it to be reciprocated." I was like, "All right, you know what? I can't even complain on the internet anymore."
don't filter it, bro. Keep it out there. Okay, so those are your beliefs. Your number one belief system, which I absolutely love it, is to never filter yourself. What is a belief that you've had to change along the way? That you've had this belief that you had when you started the journey, that along the journey you're like, you know what, that belief was not serving. I had to change it.
Probably that money is like the answer to happiness, like the answer to happiness. And I mean this in that like it's not, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm unhappy. So every time I say this, it feels like it's like I'm like, "Oh, money doesn't make you happier." And everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you must, is everything okay?" I'm like, "No, no, it's just I stopped being happy after, X amount of money." And I think that was kind of weird because I was like, well, I spent my whole life trying to make money. And then there was a very short stint in that ascension where I actually was making money and I was like happier. I genuinely was. I was like, "Oh, I can like my goal when I was in corporate and all that stuff, I just wanted to take my wife out to eat sushi and like not worry about it being like $8 per piece of nigiri, right? Or like I wanted to go to Chipotle and order the wok without being like, "Oh, it's $1.50," you know? And so there is this sweet spot where when you make an extra ten to $15,000 a month on top of what you're making at your full-time job, and it doesn't matter how you make that 10 to 15,000, it just matters that you're making it on top of your full-time job. There is a sweet spot in there where you're like, "Man, I can do anything because this is house money." And then very quickly after that, I think the happiness kind of line pretty much plateaus for a very, very long time. I don't know when I'm sure it goes back up at some point, but I don't think so. I just kind of feel like for me, it was a little disappointing to be like, "Oh, all right, I guess I'm not all that much happier. I got to find happiness doing other things like pursuing parts of real estate that creatively fulfill me." I think that was one thing where I was just chasing the dollar, and then I realized, oh, okay, I got all these properties, but like I don't love them, and I feel like I should love the things that I buy, and I should be inspired by them. And so I really started kind of focusing on properties that would bring me creative joy. And that's kind of where I am now. Like I'm now pruning my entire portfolio. I'm sure we can talk about this for a long time, but now I'm kind of like trying to find happiness in doing things that I actually enjoy doing versus, yeah, I don't know, kind of feeling like I'm beholden to my own success, which is kind of what it's
Yeah.
like, honestly, very, very often in this position.
I can absolutely relate to all those things you said. The money plateau, the beholden to it, the, what fuels you. I can relate to that so much. So that would be my question because one of the things that you told me right as we were going to come on here was that you're offloading your Airbnb portfolio, which is
Hmm.
pretty big news.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
like,
selling
dude,
everything.
yeah, so let's talk about that. Like what
Yeah.
brings you joy now and why what made you decide like, yep, I'm doing it?
Well, I think Airbnb is dead. And no, I'm just kidding. Everyone listening is like, "What?"
I was like, shit, I was gonna say
Yeah.
like, damn.
Yeah, no, no. Yeah, so I bought 40 properties, right, or 40 doors everywhere. And for a long time, that was cool. Except when you run an Airbnb business, you have who I call your Airbnb Avengers. Every single property has a team. They've got the cleaner, your handyman, your contractor, your pest control person, your landscaper, and then your pool maintenance person, probably. So that's like 6 people. Multiply that times, we'll call it 40 properties. Well, for me, I guess it's closer to like 25. So 6 times 25 is 150 people that I employ all over the world. And guess what? Those specific people are never business oriented. Rarely are they organized. 50% of the time they're reliable, right? And so to
Mm.
scale up, while it all sounds cool, it's actually spreading you very thin because you're just dying death by a thousand paper cuts. And I don't mean financially, I just mean operationally, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes here handling this bad cleaner, 7 minutes here handling this, right? And then across the country, I have amazing cleaners and amazing handymen. I just don't have them all in one consolidated place. And so I think for me, I was just kind of like, I've got basically 40 jobs. That's what it feels like sometimes, and that's fine. But I am trying to really live out what I think a scaling host should do because we get this thing called door disease where we buy one property, we make 1,000 or 2,000 bucks a month, and we say, "Holy crap, how can I do that 10 times?" Okay, check, I did that. How do I do that 20 times? How do I do that 30 times? How do I do that 40 times? Right? And so that was me for a long time, but then as I started to kind of reshape how I launched my properties, my last 3 or 4 properties that I've launched with my company Funkit, they've all double or tripled what the competition are doing. They make so much more money compared to like the first 37 doors. And so I was just like, holy moly, like if I just really focused on a small amount of properties and put everything I have into them, they will make so much more than everything else. And so that kind of really led me to this decision of like, well, what if I just got rid of everything and I consolidated it into one awesome property, like one compound or one resort or development? And so, interestingly, I have HostCon, which is my short term rental conference. I threw that 3 years ago, and this guy came, got really inspired, and decided to build a development. And he came back the second HostCon, and he goes, "Hey, dude, like I'm building it." And it's like, "Cool, dude. I'm glad that you took action at my conference." And then on the third conference, he said, "Hey, I built it." And I was like, "We're like, great." He goes, "And I want to sell it to you." And we were like, "Sure." And that always sounds great. It's like you got to go through the underwriting process. You got to do that whole thing. It never really works
Mm-hmm.
out. But we went through the underwriting process, and it's like the deal of a lifetime. Not just the deal of a lifetime, but it's the deal of my lifetime. And so I was like, okay, this property is making really good money. I want to prune the portfolio. And so I've decided to sell everything to put into this 13-unit development that I can really just own and focus on and cut my operations from 150 people to 5. And I think I'm going to be a lot
Wow.
happier doing it. I think I'm going to become a lot wealthier as a result. I think my exit's going to be massive if I hit my marks, and I'll be able to. It's like 2.5 hours away from me, so I'll be able to actually go and enjoy it and make
Yeah.
content about it. And that's all I really want to do in life is make content about my Airbnb things. And for as much as I have going on, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, like it's so cool. You have this YouTube thing. That must be so fun. I wish I had that." I'm like, dude, YouTube is like less than 1% of my life. Like turning on my camera
Mm-hmm.
and recording, it is but a fraction of my time. And I would love to figure out how to get that 1% to 99% and 1% of like operations, right? Handed off to my team.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm selling everything to 1031 it into one amazing property. I guess I could have just said that, but that's not as cool.
No, how you said it is great, dude. And I love the reasoning behind it, man. Like, I think that what people miss in what you just said, or I don't know, I assume that maybe people miss it. And so I'm going to pretend like people miss it.
Mhm.
But really, I'm just making sure people don't miss it,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is that you have the freaking stones to do that. Like, that you have, like, I'm going to sell all this and go this because I believe it's going to bring me more fulfillment. And who knows? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you hate it. You can pivot from there too, because that's what life is about, a whole bunch of pivots to figure this life out. And that is beautiful, dude. I just, more people, it inspires me to do those kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean,
So, yeah.
here's what I think about it. Like, I'm pretty good at real estate. I'm pretty good at what I've done. I can just do it again. If it goes belly up and I fail, I mean, that would suck. It's unlikely. I feel like I've gained the skills to, bounce back. I think at this point, for some of the stuff that I've gone through in the last year, I do kind of feel like I'm like, yeah, I don't think I could ever like Mike Tyson's always like, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. I have gotten pummeled. I have gotten destroyed. The scene in Lion King when Mufasa falls and then the stampede. That's been
Hmm.
me. I think over the past year, I'm good. I've risen from that, and I'm like anything at this point. I think I could handle. And back in the day when
Powerful.
I was younger, my I was so upset. I would always like when I was buying a car or something, I would get so fixated, and then it would sell, and I'd be like so bummed. I'm like, Dad, it sold, and he goes, Son, he's like, let me tell you something. There are millions of cars in the U.S. He's like, there will always be a new deal. There will always be a better deal. You just have to wait like a day. And I think that's kind of like my philosophy with real estate, where I stopped getting sad about selling stuff or like, losing out on offers. I'm just like, there are 300 million homes in the US. Millions of them hit the market every single year. They're out there. And so if this one doesn't
Mhm.
work out, it's unlikely, but guess what? It'd be cool to start over. And I'm cool with that.
That's such a great perspective. It's such a beautiful perspective. It's such a serving perspective of like, man, miss out on this thing. That one doesn't go through. There's so many more. That's the epitome of an abundant
Hmm.
mentality. So let's talk about this because the name of the podcast is Own the Outcome, right? So first, because I would love to talk about the past year, but first, when you hear Own the Outcome, like what does that mean to you? How would you define that? What does that mean to you? I guess.
I guess I'd probably say own the outcome means like be in control of like what your happiness or what your zen is versus allowing your situation that you've put yourself in be the one that controls you. And truthfully, I have been controlled by my 7 8 businesses over the past 3 or 4 years, which like I didn't mind, but now I have just really in the last 2 or 3 months something has just really changed with me where I'm like, yeah, I do want to make a lot of money, but not really. Like I think I just want to pay my bills and like make really good income, like make a solid income. I don't want to make nothing, but I think I'm good with like what if I worked less and got to hang out with my kids more. And so I would say owning the outcome is just really living life on your terms and doing whatever it takes to live on those terms.
That's nobody has ever answered it the way you just answered it.
Oh, nice. Okay, I was
Nobody.
nervous. I was like, well, sometimes I speak and I don't know where the sentence is going until I wind up there, you know?
I mean, you're wrong. It's a horrible answer, but so don't get too excited about it. But it's good.
You're like, I didn't say it was a good answer. I just said no one has ever answered it that way.
No, it was so good, bro. Because I do agree with that. Like you think about living life on your terms, that's the outcome that you want, And so it's, when I look at it, it's very similar. It's similar though, where it's just like, dude, focusing on the things that you can control, but towards the outcome that you want. Like if
Hmm.
the things you're doing aren't getting you to the outcome you want, you got to do new things and you got to be willing to do that, so that you can get to the outcome that you actually want. So talk about the past year. What's happened over the past year and why has it been so challenging and why have you been, trampled by a bunch of
Yeah, man.
people?
Well, first and foremost, I think like I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I always just start stuff or start new businesses or buy business. I haven't bought that many, but like I'll get into businesses that I don't need to do, right? And I think I have 8 now or 7 now, but if I could like push a button, maybe 3 is all I actually need, right? But you get you get in deep on some of the things that you get in deep on your businesses, you hire people, you have people that depend on you, you depend on those people, and so it's really not all that easy to do. And I think that's kind of like the hard thing for me is like I can't just walk away. And also because so many of my businesses rely on me and my marketing and the success of my content, I don't really ever get to like go on vacation and then enjoy the vacation. It's always like, well, I got to post this Instagram reel. I got to make a video, and that's cool. Like I enjoy the content, like I said, but knowing that I am the only person that can actively like be that marketer for my businesses, that's really tough at scale times 7. So I think that was like really, really hard for me because I found myself like, okay, what am I actually trying to do? And I think it was a lot of self-reflection of like, man, do I actually want to do some of the things that I'm doing? I think that's one. We're also just like in a tough time where I feel like I have to really consistently remind people that real estate is like a slow game. It's like a slow game. And, it's really hard to get people on board because, like, I think now is a good time to buy real estate if you know what you're doing. But that's not what
Yes.
people want to hear. People want to hear, hey, it's always easy. It's super easy to get into real estate. It's not hard. You should do it right now. And I feel like almost being too honest about the state of real estate, which is like, hey, it's great, but you have to do this exactly like this or you will fail, almost hurts business in some capacity. You know what I mean? So that's pretty tough. I also had a really big like model shift in how I did kind of my education company. I was very into high ticket sales and education for a very long time, and I switched that model to go more monthly membership, which is like a huge, massive change to how I did everything. And that's not easy to do because employees are tied to certain models, and I had to let go of people because of shifts that I decided to make for things that I think would be better. But it's never fun letting employees go. And then that's all kind of business entrepreneurial stuff. The last one is I have this motel in New York that, dude, has been like everything that could go wrong did go wrong, from having a bad contractor to having a bad innkeeper to going over budget by 300 or 400,000. Like there's a lot that motel really kind of took out of us. But the nice thing is I think we're on the other side. I think I see the light at the end of the tunnel. We just had to like really adapt and pivot and figure out like, okay, well, hey, if plan A didn't work, maybe it is plan M, but most people don't ever make it there. They like give up at plan C. And so I think so many pivots even with that motel project. But now I'm like, dude, finally, like for a long time, I was like, we're going to lose hundreds of thousands on this. And now I'm like, maybe we'll make 1 million, you know, but
Yeah.
maybe. And honestly, not worth it, but at least it will be like positive at the end of it. So I think now that I'm on the other side of it, though, I feel a lot chirpier about everything. I'm like, okay, cool, I did it, I figured it out. So that's kind of where I'm like, if I've learned so much from that, and I think the positive of kind of like having just a tougher year in general is this. My philosophy and my mindset is every mistake will make you 1 million. And that's kind of how I live life in real estate, where I'm like, look, I made a lot of mistakes on that deal. I'm never going to make those mistakes again. And every deal that I buy after this one, because I'm not giving up on motels or anything, I actually love the model now, especially what I learned. But I'm like, there is no failing after this. I think I've been tested and I managed to pass it, I think. But I guess we'll see once I actually sell it in the next year.
Yeah. But dude, I success leaves clues. And what you said is, to get to point M, but most people give up at point B or C. That's all it is. Like the past year for me has been also very challenging, past probably year and a half. And when but I'm like, I'll put my head down and I'll go, and then I'll look up. And it's funny, I was just having my conversation with my wife like 2 days ago, where I was like, man, I feel like I'm on the other side of this thing. So to hear you
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, I can relate to it a ton. But the key is there's no should I just quit or give up. Like it's not even in me at all. It's never been in me. So it's just like, because the whole time I'm thinking this perspective of, dude, I'm learning so much. I'm going to be a business owner my whole life, for sure. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love business. I love business. So I'm going to be a business owner my whole life. So I look at some of the mistakes that I've made, and I'm like, man, I can't help but think that I created those because I did.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, like, I own that outcome, right? Own that, take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I look and it's like, but it's because I've never ran a business this size. Like I'm trying to figure that out the entire way through, and so everything is so serving as I go, as long as I continue to go.
Yeah.
And if more people could just adopt that and embrace that, and it's not easy, but you do it because you see this longer term, longer picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, putting
Yeah.
your
And
head down
also
and just
like
getting to
I,
work.
I hired people too, and I've formerly like never hired people. And so I actually have like a full team now. And I'm like, I've always heard the who, not how, right? Like everyone's like, hey, yeah, you should replace yourself, blah, blah, blah. I think I've been so anti like guru in the real estate in the Airbnb space, so the guru that's like, oh, Airbnb, you can get 20 apartments and arbitrage them and live on a beach and make 10,000 and it's passive. And I'm just like, no, it's not, dude. You're lying. You're a liar if you say that Airbnb is passive. And if it actually is passive for you, your Airbnbs are horrible. Like I'm going on
Mm,
record and saying your Airbnbs are horrible if they are passive to you, unless you have like an amazing property manager. But the reason I'm saying this is because that kind of anti-guru sentiment and feeling that I have, uh, I think I'm just so like, all right, well, I actually believe that my Airbnb business should be not passive. And I think I kind of let that philosophy guide how I ran my other businesses, where I'm like, no, I have to do everything. No one will ever be as good as me at the things that I do for my businesses. And then slowly I just started hiring different people and placing them in my businesses. And now, in the last year, I've hired 10 people for all my businesses. And I'm like, oh, this is what it's like when other people like work for me and enjoy their job and do things for me without me asking. Like it's been
mm.
really cool. So I think that was another thing that allowed me to kind of get on the other side of sort of like the funk that I was in, where I'm like, oh, I don't have to take on the world by myself. I could have like a good team that helps.
Yeah, massive. It's a huge thing. But it's
Yeah.
funny because when my side of the investing side, we call it active investing versus passive investing. I have passive investors on deals. I want to talk to you about this. But then I have active investing, which is what my education business teaches people to do, is to be an active investor. And so the thought of the passive side, it's like, no, 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 you're building up the active side to invest passively, to be in a position to then just invest passively. Like it can be passive if you make enough to invest and then have passive. But it's like, no,
100% agree.
that's, yeah, that is the thing. Like
But it
it is
takes a
active.
while. Like all
Yeah, it definitely
passive
does. It's not at all
income.
100%.
And this some that Cody, like I interviewed her on Bigger Pockets about a year ago, I want to say, and like I think our thumbnail was like passive income is a scam, and it's kind of like, yeah, I mean it is, because you have to actively work so hard to create a passive income stream. It can become passive,
Hmm.
but the activation of that income is like a tough hill to climb to do it correctly. And I think that Airbnb can eventually become passive in the right context. But I think people are like speeding to make their real estate portfolio passive out the gate. And that's where I'm like, no, no, you haven't earned it yet. You don't deserve passive. You must suffer for 5 years at a minimum, but probably like 10. Because I mean, I'm 7, 8 years into this Airbnb thing, and I still got years before I'm gonna be like, yeah, no, it's passive for me. I got years before I feel like I can get there. So when someone's like, yeah, I want to make a passive 10,000 a month, I'm like, someone has lied to you, my friend, and I am sorry.
Because think about that first 5 years, you are figuring it out, man. Like you're not figuring it out in the year, 2 years. No, no. First 5 years is it's that 5 years, at least this is for me, 5 year mark where I was like, oh shit, I actually didn't know anything when I was building this thing up.
Mhm.
Now I'm seeing some cycles. Now I'm seeing some things happen. And now you start to learn more and more and more. But guess what? That's going to continue to go as you go. That's why it's a long term game. I love that it's exactly it. There's no
Yeah, dude.
sugarcoating it. It's a long term game.
It is.
So,
And I mean, and even this whole like pruning season that I'm in with selling the portfolio so that I can go and buy this. I mean, I'll have a whole team, I'll have VAs, I'll have an on-site person. Like, it's not going to be the most active property for me, but it will be like I will have to, it's just like when you're on a boat, like 1 degree off of course, and you could wind up in a completely different part of the world, right? That's your Airbnb portfolio is no different. And so I think for me, I had 40 boats across the country that all were just kind of drifting off in different directions. And I could save some and I could not save others. And so now just putting my focus on one, I can really like make sure that I'm actually having a human touch to this property that keeps it on course. So it's like not going to be passive, but it does require me to be actively overseeing it so that it can be successful. But it's 13 units. So it's like I'll still probably get calls at 2 a.m. every so often, I'm sure.
sure. I will say I do like that about the apartment side where we do have on site employees and things like that. But it doesn't mean that I don't deal with, dude, my whole morning today was actually just dealing with attorneys and things for a property that, a tenant is suing and then it went to, the insurance and then it gets to me. And it's like, there's always stuff.
Yeah.
Like the stuff is just different, right? And it's
Yeah.
not a tenant, it's somebody else, but it's the same type of problems, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then also I think one thing to kind of go back to the idea of like owning the outcome. One reason that I'm selling my portfolio, because I think I've posted about this on Instagram and a lot of people are like, I have to come up with 1.5 million basically to buy to put the down payment on and stuff. And like a lot of people are like, I'm like, yeah, I'm selling everything. I'm gonna 1031 it, blah blah blah. And then a lot of people are like, dude, why don't you just raise it? Like, just raise it. Are you kidding me? Like, leverage, like scale. And part of for me, like owning the outcome is like, well, I want to really live life on my terms, especially with this property and how I do Airbnb. And I don't want to raise because I don't want to have to go in and raise from 10, 15 investors and then have to report to the investors and have to be by the book on every little detail. Because like the moment you take someone else's dollar, a level of of what's it called, like of a level of, there's a fiduciary duty but of accuracy, there you go, you have to be completely by the book and accurate about everything. Whereas if I own it, if I want to just kind of like change how I handle the bit, hey, let's take it from here, let's put here, hey, let's swap this out, I don't want to have to explain myself or my philosophies or why I do things to other investors just for this deal, right? Like I'm like that. I'm above board for all investors that I work with, but for this, I'm like, I just want to like be my own boss. I don't want to have 20. I don't want 20 bosses on this
Mhm.
deal, and so I think this is sort of my way of being like, yep, I'm gonna own all of this. I'm gonna get all the upside. Yes, I could raise for it. Maybe I will if some of these properties don't sell, but I really like the idea of just kind of owning this all by myself. Calm
But
agreed.
how beautiful, dude, that you put yourself in a position that that's even a possibility.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing. That's where money is beautiful because it provides options. And if you can exit these and then have the options to do that, well, then dude, you can do whatever you want to do. That's the beautiful part of it.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have to worry about distributions. Like it's just I'm the distribution. If we make 10 grand or 20 grand one month, I can be like, yoink, it's fine. Like, dude, it's great. I love it, man. And I think it's like it's so not stressful to me. I'm like, and I'm actually like I'm gonna have less units than I did before this. Like I'm gonna have less doors than the doors that I'm selling. So I'm like, I'm trying to figure out. It's almost like a little nerve wracking because I'm like, it's almost too good to be true. So I guess I'll have to come on for a follow up episode in a year to let you know if it was. But like, it just feels pretty dang good. I'm like, how can this be so legit? But hindsight's 2020. So I'll let you know. I'll report
Hey,
back.
I'll follow up with you, brother,
Yeah.
for sure. So I have a question with the YouTube stuff because you said that not 1% of the your
Mhm.
time goes to that, but you would love it to be 99%. Tell me
Yeah.
about your YouTube. I don't know if it's a strategy or your process. Well, actually, what, I'm gonna ask you a specific question. When you think about the videos that you record for YouTube, how do you determine what to record? And do you have the same structure for each of your videos, or what's your
Yeah.
process there?
I try to, I guess part of the authentic kind of desire that I have is to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I think I just like to talk about what I'm going through or something that I solved. I don't typically talk about what I'm going through, although we're actually going to be changing this a little bit, but I don't typically talk about what I'm going through until I've kind of figured out how I'm getting out of it or what the resolution is going to be, only because I just hate the YouTube audience being like, "Ha ha, see Rob's stupid," and blah blah blah. Like I always am very confident that I will figure out whatever it is that I'm doing. Like this motel deal, for example. Like I haven't talked about it very much because I have a plan and I know exactly what I'm going to do to pull it off. But talk is cheap, and so I don't really want to talk about it and then not fulfill on it. So I'm like, let me just get through it, and then I'll tell everybody like all the. I am more than happy to divulge the ugly, but I want there to always be a lesson. And sometimes brutal honesty is not that great if there isn't like a lesson or kind of an upside or a resolve. And so I always just want to have some kind of resolve so that my audience can watch a video and say, oh, okay, I get it now. I see what I must do. Although, talking to Caleb, who's my editor and he's really our YouTube strategist, I think we, you know, maybe overthink that a little bit, and I probably should get into some of the, hey, oh, here's what I'm dealing with, because the audience does that actually builds more trust than always having like a happy answer. So I think over the years, though, I will say more than most of the Airbnb people, I feel like I can confidently say that I talk about the ugly side of Airbnb more than any other Airbnb content
Agreed.
creator or influencer, because, when you talk about the ugly stuff, truth is it doesn't sell coaching. It really, really
Yeah.
doesn't. And so that's why I kind of see trends on
But you know what,
Instagram.
bro? All right. I
No,
totally
no,
cut
yeah,
you off.
please. Yeah,
You
yeah.
go, my bad, dude.
No, that's it. That was
Okay.
it. That's like, yeah,
What I
it
was going to
hurts
say
me
is this.
in some capacity, but I'm like, I just need to tell the truth, you know?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I foreclosed on 2 deals last year.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I never thought in my life I'd foreclose on a deal, And so it's like, it's huge. Like, it's a hit to your pride, it's a hit to
Yeah.
your ego. I mean, but more than that, it's like, brother, geez, dude, I got investor money in that. I got a lot of my own money in that. It's like, so it kind of took a knock. And I was like, I don't know how to, I don't, so I just started talking about it. I just talk about it. I talk about it. Every event I do, I will talk about it. And it's funny
Mm-hmm.
because what I've realized is that people realize that stuff happens, and the whole thing is exactly what you just mentioned. I've learned so many lessons from it. I have learned those 2 deals have made me the operator that I am today way more than any of the 17 others that were a success.
Yeah.
17 full cycle deals that were a success, or 15, I guess, because I've done 17 total, and the 2 that didn't, you know, work the way I wanted or exit the way I wanted, I've learned more out of those than any of them. And so I talk
Mm-hmm.
about those learning lessons a ton, and dude, I don't think it's hurt at all. And if it does, listen, it's probably not the right person to be in there anyway,
For
because they
sure.
got to realize that dude, it's not all just roses and green fields and successes. Like, it's ugly. Things get
Yeah.
ugly sometimes. And that's,
Yeah. Roses really smell like boo boo, as my friend Andre 3000 would say. Well, here's my thought. Here's kind of how I always say this. I say we don't become real estate experts by everything going right. We become real estate experts by everything going wrong. And
Mm.
so that really is what I believe. I'm like, yeah, I say this because everyone thinks, oh my gosh, you're so smart. You bought at the right time, like this and that. I'm like, no, 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 no. I failed up many, many times. I just happened to get started when I got started, but like I still would fail just as much if I got started 5 years later or 5 years before. It doesn't really matter, but so much has gone wrong, and it's like everyone's always like, "Hey, if you could go back and I hate this question, and sorry if you have it prepared, but like if you could go back and tell younger Rob like what would you do differently?" And I'm always like, this is the lamest answer in the world, but I would like never go and talk to younger me. I'm like, just let Rob figure it out, because if I were to let him avoid like whatever mistake it is that I'm so petrified of, then literally I wouldn't be as successful, or future success wouldn't be there without it. So it's like I kind of need the battle scars to really become a warrior,
Fact. Dude, yes. Think about your kids. You want to take all the pain and all the suffering, you want to take it away from your kids, but you're not going to.
Yeah.
And nor will you, because you know that once again, that's what made you. My little dude, Paxton, just had a baseball game a couple days ago, and they put him in the last inning. He gets in, pitches, they hit a ball to him, bases are loaded. He kind of fumbles it, overthrows first. They lose the game because they scored 2 runs. And on the drive home, probably one of my proudest dad moments to date, I'll be honest with you, because he's beat up about it. He was so beat up about it. But on the drive home, he tells me, I was like, hey, I can't remember the question that I asked, but that led to it. But he's like, man, what I learned is this. I learned that even though I feel there's lots of pressure and I feel this rush and I bobbled it and I knew when I bobbled it, I let me bobbling it, and this isn't exactly how it said, but this is what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
How I bobbled it made me rush my throw and then I overthrew. So next time, if that happens, I'm just going to take a breath, and then throw to make sure my throw is good. And I was like, buddy, that
Mm-hmm.
is amazing. Like, that is what's one of my most proud dad moments in this time, that he's just so bummed that he can find the learning lesson and realize that it's going to make him better tomorrow.
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh, yeah, dude, that's amazing. Good on you. Yeah, you're doing something right.
No,
That's
that's
it's just
him
it just
and
is what it is. Expect failure, be grateful for the lessons that come from it, you know? And I don't know. Sometimes that motel deal, sometimes I'm like, should I have stopped younger Rob? But then I'm like, nah, like really, why would I? Truly. Like,
yeah.
would I love for that deal to have gone better? Yeah, but I'm actually, I think I'll have far more pride selling that deal and making a profit now that I went through what I went through. Like, I think when I'm at the closing table and I get that check, I think I'm gonna be like, this is I made $4 an hour on this, but it was great. I learned a lot, but it felt like I made more.
You know, we're gonna wrap this up because I want to be just respectful of your time. But I think that if I could give guidance to anybody listening, I just want you to listen to how Rob talks about things. He's talking about experiences, but he like if the narrative in his head is always a positive narrative of what's coming down in the future. It doesn't matter what's going on. He's like, oh man, I'm going to be at the closing table doing this. Oh man, I'm going to be doing this. Or man, this 13, I'm going to be. It's this positive narrative that he's spinning, which keeps him going and keeps him doing everything that he's done, which is why he's done all the things that he's done and will continue to do the things that you do, bro. And thank you for sharing your story. Jake, thank you for sharing it out there the way that you do, and
For sure.
being you and not editing yourself. It makes it. Once again, man, it inspires me to do those kind of things. And so my last question is going to be this: not what
If
would
I
you
could go back
tell?
and tell younger
Yeah,
son,
yeah,
younger Rob,
yeah. Damn it. That was going to be my last question. Now I don't even know what to ask, I was going to gear it, and this is more selfish a little bit
uh-huh.
because I know that you've had to put yourself out there on social media. I've known you've had to put yourself out there on YouTube. And I actually just taught a coaching call to my community that was about this stuff, like social media and putting yourself out there. And I didn't realize how much fear was around it. I mean, I have fear around it. Like, sure, like it's not the most comfortable thing to record yourself, but like, I didn't realize how much fear around it was in my community, I guess I should say. And so, if you were to talk to somebody who's new starting the investment journey and they're nervous to put themselves out there on social media, what would you tell that person? What high level Reader's Digest advice would you give them?
Yeah. I would say it's pretty easy. Pretty easy. The best thing you can accept as an upcoming content creator or as an inspiring content creator is that your first 20 videos are going to suck horribly. Like they're so bad. And they won't get better for a while. But if you can just make the content and say, all right, 1 of 20, 2 of 20, 3 of 20, like if you can get through those 20 videos, then on 21 and on, you can at least say, all right, I kind of got the jitters out. Now I'm going to work on getting 1% better every single video. And that was really my philosophy. Like I told that to myself. I'm like, all right, first 20 are going to suck. And that's honestly probably naive. Probably the first 50 are going to suck. But for me, like I had no idea what I was doing. I shot on an iPhone. The best camera on the market is the one that you have in your pocket. Like you don't need to buy a fancy camera. My first viral video was on an iPhone, and I had no idea what I was gonna do. It was my second video, or it was my third, and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go outside and talk." And I was like, had my tripod, and I was walking outside, and my wife's like, What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm gonna be a vlogger." And she was like, "Okay, weirdo." And I was like, "All right, bye." And so I went to my backyard. I'm like, "All right, what could I talk about?" And I looked behind me, and I had my tiny house in my backyard in LA, and I was like, "All right, I'll talk about this." So I was like, this is my tiny house, blah, blah, blah. And it was really bad. And I would love I don't ever take these videos off. I would never want to take my glow up off. Go watch my first videos. And it was kind of funny because that video was so bad, but that was the first video that went viral for me. Like 6 months later, I was getting like 10 views a day. And then one day I had 2,000 views an hour. And I was like, huh? What is this? And I looked, and that third video that I posted was getting 2,000 views an hour. And I was like, what is happening? I don't understand. And then all of a sudden, it just kept picking up and picking up and picking up. And turns out that people really like tiny houses. Who knew? And I remember being really, really bummed, but because my channel, the Raw Built channel, actually started as a DIY channel. And that, like, I accidentally did a tiny house video because I didn't have any DIY projects to do. And so when that video went viral, I was kind of bummed because all my other tiny house and Airbnb videos kept hidden. And I was like, dude, what the heck? I
Mm.
was like, I spent so much time doing this DIY stuff. Like, why don't people like that? And I just remember I was like, you know what? If this is what people like, I'm going to double down and I hope it works out. And I doubled down and it worked out. And so I think it's like, we all kind of never be so precious or married to like what you think you're supposed to do. Just like go with it, figure out
Mm.
what's working, follow the pattern, double down on it. But understand, even before all that, you're going to suck for 20 videos. Just crap them out and then get excited to come to work.
That's so good. That's such good advice, man. That's such a great framework. And I appreciate you breaking it down. I'm so excited to share that. Like, obviously, my community will listen to this, but I will share that within the community.
Sure.
And literally, I'm so pumped to share it because that is, it's golden advice, dude. And it is.
Hey,
It's like,
have me on anytime. I'll come in and talk about social to your group.
I would love to do that with you, brother. Done. We'll talk about that off camera. I'd
Cool.
love to make that happen. Dude, thank you so much, man. We'll put all the links and everything in the notes. Go follow Rob. Go follow his journey on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere he's at. Go make sure that if he does this next event, his host con, that you get there. It's a great event as well. And y'all live always with aloha as per usual. Peace.